Backing the army on shore are some of the Navy's most powerful ships. For 3.5 months, one of Britain's 2 operational carrier groups has been on station in the crowded waters of the Adriatic, standing by in case British forces need air support from its Sea Harriers and helicopters, or if worsening fighting requires the troops to be evacuated. For the moment, though, everything awaits clear political decisions.
Good morning, Ark Royal. It's Tuesday the 27th of April. Here is the morning news. President Clinton has announced a strong policy to stop the fighting in the Balkans. Commentators say that the administration is now convinced that military action is now necessary and talks are being held among the Allies.
Starboard 30. Starboard 30.
The ship is a community of 1,200 souls. For its captain, even in what is described as a low-threat mission, the risk of attacks to this group can't be forgotten.
We're always concerned, of course, that members of the former Yugoslav Republic forces could indulge in a maverick attack against any of the Allied forces which are operating off the coast, and therefore we naturally proceed with due caution.
For pilots of 801 Naval Air Squadron, each day brings a succession of training sorties. If British aircraft had to make good a minister's recent pledge to give air support to UN troops ashore, this unit's Sea Harriers could come into action at a couple of hours' notice.
100 has been moved forward. It's going to commence an APU run.
The British government would rather not send these aircraft into battle, but under American pressure, Whitehall regards airstrikes as the least worst option. Officers who, until recently, were at the top of the armed forces, don't believe such a move would be of any immediate benefit. In Ark Royal's operations centre, the radar paints a picture of the international community's offshore arm's-length naval commitments.
The key thing is the Adriatic is full of a large number of ships, a lot of warships operating in here amongst a normal level of merchant traffic. This point in the middle of the display is Ark Royal, our own radar picture. The picture you're looking at about 60 miles across up to the north.
40 warships representing 16 nations in a space of water one American admiral disparagingly called a jacuzzi. Ark Royal remains under national command. RAF tornadoes overhead follow NATO orders, and the army ashore is under UN control. It's a tangled arrangement, unsuitable for any open confrontation with the Serbs. Naval forces prove their worth in such situations by allowing the military to work faster than the diplomats. While the Allies struggle to reach agreement about their next move, British sailors continue their daily training amid uncertainty. I discussed the ship's 7-month deployment here in the senior rates mess, with a group with 140 years' experience in the fleet between them, spanning the Falklands and the Gulf War.
With those two, you knew it was going to happen. Something was going to happen, and in both conflicts it happened quite quickly. Whereas this one, because there's no real conflict involving anybody else at the moment, it's just purely within their own country. Nobody seems to be willing to go in and sort it out, which is what happened with the Falklands and with the Gulf.
Are you concerned about the possible casualties involved?
Well, yeah, I mean, who wouldn't be? We've all got wives and families or mums and dads at home. At the end of the day, if you're going to fight in anger, then somebody's going to get hurt over it. We've got the easy end, haven't we? We're sailing up and down the ocean waiting for something to happen. The other crowd are ashore getting shot at. I know which position I prefer to be in.
How important do you think it is for the Navy to be seen to be part of this commitment?
Money is short. We all know it is. The justification for us being here? Good question, well asked. Only the politician can answer you that one, unfortunately. But we're here to do the job. And it's all based on what the country can afford. So we've got to be in a profile position, I suppose, to a certain degree. To realise that the Navy is still required and has a job to do in the future. Yeah?
We're the pawns that the politicians move around.
Those keeping fit afloat are willing to do their professional duty, but nobody here expresses any enthusiasm for action. On deck, as in Whitehall, there are reservations about Britain taking a combat role in the region. Politically, bit by bit, British forces have in recent months been moved closer to just such an operation. Many senior officers, though, doubt the wisdom of any escalation in the British presence, fearing its cost, its dangers, the lack of simple aims, and the prospect of a long-term entanglement in the Balkan quagmire. On board Ark Royal, they compare their current mission of poise to the weight of 2 years by Admiral Nelson's fleet off France before Trafalgar. There may be a British presence in the Adriatic for just as long, but few senior commanders believe that any action here will resemble that swift and famous victory of 1805.